Good day, everyone. 'Tis I, the Blue Baron, defender of traditionalism. Fides Traditio Monarchia!
And I, his faithful assistant, the Bearded Canadian.
And I'm glad you can join us as we finally get to address the Victorian aspect of our series directly by looking at a very Victorian Christmas special.
A Christmas Carol?
No, Frosty the Snowman.
How is that a Victorian Christmas special? This thing take place in the Victorian era. Does it?
Not as such, no. But this all goes back to my style of being a modern Victorian. At first, it sounds like an oxymoron, a figure of speech in which apparently contradictory terms appear in conjunction. However, that is because when people hear the word Victorian, they are thinking of it as a time period.
But it was a time period.
Yes, but that's not all that Victorian means. Have you heard of the terms classical, neoclassical, Gothic, or Baroque, often used to refer to certain types of architecture or music?
A few of them.
Well, Victorian can also refer to a certain type of things, specifically a set of styles and values that are normative to the Victorian period, and which are still present today. The one which we'll address today is clothing, but more specifically, hats, later on. The Victorians transformed the way we dress today. As a result of the rise of the Protestant work ethic and industrialism, a movement in men's fashion called the Great Masculine Renunciation came into existence. Men began to dress more practically and less flashily, as is most often the case today. However, both then and now had its share of fops and dandies. I'm a bit of a fop myself. Men may have been more practical than their Baroque predecessors, but they were by no means unconcerned with their appearance. Men's clothing also exhibited a narrow, defined waist, a style that is observably re-emerging today in modern designers' lines. Several inventions of the Victorian era have also heavily influenced our contemporary fashion. Blue jeans, now a staple in modern casual attire, were invented when Jacob Davis added rivets to hard-wearing denim trousers in 1872. Another modern article of clothing stemming from the Victorian era is the brassiere, invented by Marie Tussac in 1893 as a replacement for the corset. At the time of its invention, the brassiere was never overly popular, but today it has all but completely replaced the corset. A pity, too, because the corset was far more modest.
As in, the other one was more risque,
Yes, the brassiere, certainly of today, is much more risque.
i.e. revealing.
Yes.
Just lovely. Just swinging it. More fops and dandies showing way more skin than they should.
The fops and dandies didn't show skin.
I'm making fun of the fops and dandies.
The fops and dandies dressed better than anyone does today, and they dressed far more modestly. And the female equivalent, why, there you
Not
couldn't
necessarily
say...
so. A lot of them had the low cut, where you could basically see the entire cleavage. How wonderful.
It was less common back then than it is today, though. The modern business suit, too, was a development of the Victorian era, evolving out of the lounge suits used back then when men would retire to the parlor or their study for the night. You may know these best as lounge jackets or smoking jackets, due to their use as a way to keep warm when the men would depart a party temporarily to enter the smoking room. Yes, while it's true that smoking was far more popular in the Victorian era, but to be fair, the link between smoking and lung disease was not concretely known until as late as the 1960s. The Victorians did not just smoke whenever and wherever they pleased, as smokers in homes do today. Long before the days of smoking being banned in just about all public places, it was already frowned upon to do so at indoor public gatherings and private social events. So those who wished to smoke would often leave the main area of the house and enter a room specifically for the purpose of smoking, the smoking room. I myself have a smoking room, though I do not smoke in it per se. I burn incense. Granted, I burn it in this pipe, which I hold in my mouth, and I have to blow on in order for the incense to work, so... like what I do, you could technically call it smoking, and that's why I named it the smoking room. I mean, there's smoke coming off it. Anyway. In the days before central heating, this room was often quite cold for much of the year, and so a more casual suit than the frock or morning suit was created out of a thick, warm material, to be worn in such a room. Eventually, this version of the lounge suit was made out of a normal, formal material, and eventually became the full commonplace business attire we know today.
Interesting. Wait, for most of our videos so far, you've been wearing a lounge suit with your top hat. Isn't that against the rules or something? Aren't men not supposed to wear hats indoors?
Ordinarily, yes. However, there is an exception. As you know, there's always an exception to the rule. A gentleman is allowed to dress however he wishes in his own home. Admittedly, it is a bit foppish to wear a top hat in one's own home, but
Yes.
then I am a bit of a fop, as I stated previously. But hey, this is nothing compared to a gentleman by the name of C. Montgomery Burns, who wears a top hat in the tub. But then, he's a billionaire and an old Prussian, so he's entitled to a bit more eccentricities.
Oh boy. You know he's a character, right?
Oh, he certainly is. He leads a very interesting life indeed. He came of age in the new imperialism era, made his modern-day fortune in nuclear power, and once courted a Prussian princess.
No. I mean, he's animated.
Oh, definitely. He's always enthusiastic about his work, always saying everything is... excellent.
Excellent.
No, Never mind. You're enjoying yourself, aren't you?
Oh, quite a lot. Many will note that the differences between Victorian clothing and the styles of today are more notable than the similarities. While we cannot deny this truth, that certainly does not stop us from expressing a desire to return to the more fashionable Victorian era. Top hats, frock coats, and morning and evening dress should be embraced by the modern gentleman.
I'm not a gentleman.
Yes, you can say that again.
Sorry, Jimmy, I prefer business casual or casual to business, basically.
It is said that clothes make the man. Why blend in? Be bold by hinting at the more refined, eloquent days of yore. Victorian fashion is timeless, but forgotten by the modern man, distracted by novelties. It is time to remind the world of its precious past, and I can think of no more fitting way to do so than by highlighting the Victorian aspects in just about every Christmas classic. starting with Frosty the Snowman.
Oh boy, here we go.
I think you'll be surprised how many there are.
Oh, I'm sure there's tons. I'm just not going to enjoy it. I am not a Victorian man. I am barely a modern man.
You're barely a man. I'm sorry, that was a bit over the line.
That was in when I sister play, that's usually a joke. That was insulting my very being. Thanks.
Yes, you're right.
Barely a man. Yeah. Because when it comes to mine, it sounds like you're either calling me partially a woman or a child.
Yes, you know what? You're right.
I mean, come on, the beard? I'm a dude. No, wait. What are you doing?
Take this glove.
I'm not gonna challenge you, mostly because I probably beat the snot out of you. Well, potentially, I don't know.
Use a bit bit
I
less language, but
it's like snot.
yes, but that's just ugh. Anyway, we must restore.
Come on, don't be a pansy.
We must restore honor. Now, slap me with the glove, and then we shall duel. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
go for it.
the
Slap
sheer
me.
fact that I slap you means you decide the weapons. Yeah, I know that part. Yeah, I was smart that way. I'm not going to slap you.
I'm surprised he knows this, folks.
Come on. I'm an amateur historian. I love history.
I do have 2 fencing foils here.
Yeah, you actually know how to use those suckers.
No, actually I don't. But then neither do you, which means we'll be evenly matched.
Not really. I'm just gonna bull rush you.
That's not how fencing works.
I heard that crack. Was that your neck?
No, I think that was my throat.
Hmm. And for future reference, yeah. I'm not gonna challenge you. Because obviously the one who gets challenged, usually, not always, but usually gets to choose the weapons, and if they're allowed to, the time and location.
Mm-hmm.
So you could choose like a godly time, and then a godly location, like I can't get to, and then declare I win due to my lack of being there. Don't get any funny ideas. I know where you live, I know how to get here, and I'm probably stronger than you.
Oh.
Plus I've got the axe. So unless you can actually get a lucky shot with your BB gun, I'm probably more dangerous than
A
you.
gun? Goodness no. So uncivilized. We duel with foils. Not as clumsy or random as a gun, an elegant weapon of a more civilized age. Generally, one would not use the thing they have blown their nose on to wipe dust off my keyboard.
Well, I'm sorry, I was driving me crazy, okay? Besides, you're the one who called me less of a man. So,
And then
this
I
is
offered
my...
you the opportunity to
this is my
restore
way.
your honor.
But one, I don't have honor. Hey, I fully admit I'm a coward. Therefore, I have no honor.
Getting back to the special. To start with, note how everybody dresses in the town the special takes place in. Right from the start, when Jimmy Durante appears on screen in his suit and hat, we're presented with the styles and values that were commonplace for almost all of modern Western history. That is, men being dressed up daily in formal coats, jackets, and hats. This activity reached its height during the Victorian era, when no self-respecting gentleman would go out without a waistcoat to cover his shirt and a jacket or coat to cover his sleeves.
Really?
Well, unless of course you were working, i.e. something physical.
Yeah, I also saw that head tilt.
Head tilt.
Yeah, you tilted your head in my direction as you were saying that.
Yes.
Clever. My eyes are bad, but they're not that bad, you know.